This is AutoTerraFirmaCraft, a total conversion mod that starts you in the Stone Age and has you working your way up. I'm playing a mod pack version with the Create mod called AutoTerraFirmaCraft. I've also added a couple other mods like supplementaries and a food mod called Firmalife. Journey map has also been replaced with Zero's World map because Journey map sucks. I wouldn't consider it too much harder than vanilla, and unlike other mods that start you out at the Stone Age, this mod is actually pretty fun. Very sorry for the amount of lag. My computer's pretty bad, so until I stop loading new chunks, we'll be mostly using replay shots. You'll notice I start out by picking up rocks and twigs. This is so I can make stone tools. You can make stone tools by knapping a stone. Taking two pebbles and banging them against each other can instantly make you an axe or a knife. I made myself a pair of knives, axes, shovels, and hoes. Pretty good starting tools. I've also discovered a hot spring. I assume they give a healing effect like in older versions, so I mark it on my map. You'll also see that I'm getting some garlic and onions. Wild crops generate naturally like this, and drop food and seeds when broken. Knives and hoes can be used to get straw from grass, which is very useful. They're also able to get flowers and berry bushes without breaking them. Also, trees get chopped down in one hit at the cost of having a really slow mining speed. It's finally turned night. I'm not too worried though. Monsters don't spawn on the surface anymore, only in caves. I am worried about my thirst. I don't really mind the mechanic, it just means you have to carry like one more item and forces you to live near water. I could pick up some more oats, but they don't stack with the other ones. This is because they have different expiry dates. Every food has a certain length of time it can stay fresh, and if it goes past that date, it rots. While I'm looking for a good place to settle, I come across a moose. I love meese. I think they're gorgeous animals. I also find some wolves, also a gorgeous animal, but a lot scarier. And I get chased down by them. After a long while, I finally find a place I will call home. A big lake. I know it's the one when I finally find some clay around the edge. The next step in progression is clay. It's used for pots and tool molds. I'll make actual use out of it in a bit, but first, I need a base. I find some tetrahedrite samples, which is copper and is key in progression. I'll talk about ore later, but here's a clip of me genuinely considering if I should throw out the sticks for the copper. As I finally find a good spot, a sleepwalking bear starts sliding towards me. I attack it and lose the fight because I'm bad. Thankfully this isn't hardcore and I start making my way back. When I get back, I grab my stuff and start to kill the bear, because I'm petty. Also for another reason, but I'll talk about it later. I die again, so I'll see you when I get back. When I get back, I start to do a smart thing and make spears to kill it at range. I grab my stuff, place some of it down, and start the fight. I decide to go in the water because bears are famously terrible swimmers, and it scares the shit out of me as I realize I'm wrong. Thankfully it starts to retreat because its health is low, and I can finally beat it. I collect my rewards and start to store everything at my base. The log piles are nice solutions to storing logs, but you can press V to place items on the ground. I make some hoes to start farming and to clear space in my inventory. Each plant has different needs like temperature and hydration. Since I'm at a loamy biome, the ground is very hydrated, so most grains can be grown without water. Most of the other plants need to be next to water though, and it's too hot for garlic at the moment, so I'll have to grow them when it becomes colder. After mining an excessive amount of clay, I finally decide to use it. Clay can be dapped in the same way stones can. I'm mostly interested in vessels and storage right now, as well as a saw mold and a pick mold. The way you fire clay is by making pick kilns, placing everything you want inside a hole, pressing V, filling it with straw and logs, and then setting it on fire. Before I can start using the clay, I'll need a lot more logs. Now that it's all on fire, I realize everything around it is very flammable, and I try my best to put it all out. The bear hide is finally coming in use. If I use 2 thatch blocks next to each other, and then place the bear hide, I can make a bed to set my spawn. I can't sleep through the night though, I'm gonna need wool to do that. After my deforestation efforts, another bear appears, possibly the child of the last one, getting revenge on me for killing her mom. I just want you to know that whenever you see me jump in these clips, that's genuine fear. It does not take much. In another world, a deer passed in front of my screen and I got so scared I had to take a breather. The fight takes a while because bears have a lot of health and the spears do like no damage. I don't fight often, so I don't usually prioritize weapons. This is probably the first world where I've chosen a spear over an axe. After that's dealt with, I could check on all my clay stuff. I made many vessels and a lot of molds which are used for metalworking later. I also made a cooking pot, a gold pan, and water jugs, all which are pretty self-explanatory. I also made a couple large vessels, which work as early game storage and as a way to preserve food. I keep some vessels on me, just as extra inventory space, and the water jugs are very useful. There are weird looking rocks I've been picking up which have strange fucked up names if you're not a geologist. These are ore samples, and they're one of the next steps in progression. Ore no longer generates as tiny little veins, but as massive clumps beneath the surface. The easiest and most basic method of finding these is to look for an ore sample on top. They indicate that there's an ore beneath them. The world also is divided into stone types as well as biomes. Stone types generate different minerals and ores, so if you want a specific mineral, you need to travel to a new stone type. That's why I've been making a bunch of waypoints, so that I can come back to them and mine the ore that's underneath. The names I give the waypoints are just me entertaining myself. If you've seen this mod before, you'll probably know how great the metalworking is. Well, to start, we need to put the correct percentages of metal into a vessel, then putting it into a pit kiln. Usually copper is the first metal to start with, but I'm skipping straight to bronze. There are 3 different types of bronze: bismuth, black, and just regular. Depending on the stone type you're in, whatever bronze you make will be different, and I'm able to make both bronze and almost able to make black bronze. This is really cool because I've only ever made bismuth bronze, and it's got a really cool green color, but it gets really boring. And also black bronze just sounds really cool. I have the silver and copper for black bronze, but I also need gold. Luckily for me, I just made gold pan, so I'll be able to make at least a little black bronze. Metal is required for making pickaxes and saws, which will allow me to get more metal and wooden planks respectively. Before I melt the metal, I grab more clay just so I could fire even more stuff. I want to try out this food mod, which adds a brick oven for pizza and bread. I also make a couple more molds just for the fun of it. What I don't realize about this oven is that I can't just fire them in a pig kiln, and I'm going to need to do a different thing. The first 3 tools I make are a saw, a pickaxe, and a prospector's pick, or a pro pick for short. The pro pick can be used to detect ores and minerals even if there's no sample up top. It does have a chance to not detect anything, and higher tiered pro picks have smaller chances to not detect. Finally, I'm able to make planks, which means I can make a crafting table and actually good storage. It's no better than walls, but it can still take a good while. Also make a couple of composters and start to make a sluice. This is a better version of panning, and it requires the ore deposit to function. It also requires a bit of an annoying setup, needing to be at the end of a water stream. but now I can just throw the blocks on and it'll output a small ore. I also make a bunch of barrels, which are useful for alcohol brewing and leather processing. All of the recipes start off with water, and thankfully I could just use them as giant buckets. If I have more than one though, I get really encumbered and can't walk. I can still jump around though. Copper is the limiting factor in my bronze making, so I go and find one of the waypoints I made. Thankfully there's one right next to my base, and I start digging a hole. After I start caving, I hear a cave-in somewhere. I didn't mention it yet, but gravity is a thing, so I make a bunch of support so the cave-in doesn't happen on me. After a bit of mining, I find the ore vein. I'm very happy about this because sometimes this can take forever. I was once looking for a tiny graphite vein. I had so many mine shafts going in different directions and it was really frustrating. I eventually gave up and just went in a creative world with the same seed. The cave-in caused a couple holes on the surface, so I make a bunch of slabs to patch them out. Planks don't have gravity, so I can place dirt on them to fix my landscape. I'm getting weird glitches though, so I'll have to reload my game at some point. I do a bit more measuring and I realize anything I place down is also visible. Right before reloading, I do a bit more copper mining and I find out the blocks I mine are not appearing. I shove my face in them and I find a cool X-ray glitch. I also find a zinc vein, I think. Some may consider this cheating. Finally, after reloading, I start to make some more bronze. When the bronze is melting, I start to make a pen for future animals, and I accidentally make a bunch of gates. Animal husbandry is really different, and I'll explain it when I get animals. After the metal has finally melted, I realize I did my math wrong. I accidentally made a bunch of unknown metal, wasting all my gold. I still made an excessive amount of bronze, so I'm not too fussed. On the bright side, I made a really cool hammer, an axe, a shovel, a chisel, and a mace. Tools and certain blocks like logs can't be stored in chests, so that's why I made the log piles, and this is why I'm making tool racks. I also made a bell, which is just a decorative block, but it's still cool. With my new tools, I clear a small area for my animal pens, and I run out of fences. And I finish off the single missing block with 2 full blocks, which will piss me off until I eventually feel like fixing it. And on that note, I think this should be the end of the episode. I don't really have a goal for this series. The end and nether have been removed, so there's no ender dragon. I think I'll just go until I'm content with my industry. If there's any add-ons or mods I should add for TerraFirmaCraft or create in 1.18.2, let me know. Alright, see ya.